Welcome everybody. My name is Bender Virdi. I will be the anchor for this event and this Zoom meeting which has been supported by Mississauga Arts Council. Once again, I welcome you. And for the people who don't know me too much, I'm Meena's better half.
Better half.
So we have this show, this
Meena
event.
is your better half.
And this event is going to be in 3 segments. First, we'll have Meena introducing the premier of the Meena is an internationally known Canadian Indian poet, visual artist, designer, and art curator. She writes both in English and Hindi. Her poetry has appeared in literary magazines and anthologies, translated into Urdu, German, and Punjabi. She has authored 5 poetry and art collections and has also co-edited an anthology of Canadian Hindi and Urdu poets. With over 120 exhibitions she has held all over the globe, Meena often merges literature with visual arts and other art forms. She is the recipient of many awards, honors, and through her career span, and recently she received the Nalanda Award for the Best Hindi Poet in 2023 and the Civic Recognition Award in Mississauga 2022. She has also been honored by the National Ethnic Press and Media Council of Canada. She also won the Visual Arts Mississauga's first prize in 2017. She's been a radio broadcaster, publisher, a media professional, advertising professional, and she's been running an eminent art weekly called Starbuzz. Welcome, Meena. You can now start.
Thank you, Bhupinder. You are very generous. And I think with little bit of introduction, we'll get into the film. And as you all know, this program is in 3 segments. In first segment, the premiere will be there. And in second segment, we'll go to the speakers. And the third segment will be an open forum. Any questions you have for me or the speakers, you can come out with them. So good. This is good morning, good afternoon, evening to everyone. Just admitting somebody. Okay. It is a joy to share with you a glimpse of my art video films, an integral part of my artistic journey. These films now accessible through playlists in your message box and through QR codes in my new poetry and art collection, Charismatic Chiaroscuro, bringing together poetry, digital art, and moving images in a seamless fusion. I have been painting for many years, but my digital art journey began in 2000 with Photoshop and CorelDRAW. At that time, these were the popular apps. But it was during COVID that I truly delved into art video films, manipulating my traditional artworks, oils mostly, to create immersive visual experiences. Back in 2015, my first art video film was displayed at Bradley House in a curated group show under the Museums of Mississauga. I taught myself video creation through YouTube tutorials, online readings, eventually accumulating thousands of footage, first on my high-powered gaming laptop and later on my advanced mobile phone. Today, my devices hold over a terabyte of creative material with technology. Charismatic Chiaroscuro is a result of this evolution, featuring 44 poems, 80 digital art images, 78 QR codes, which lead to art video films on YouTube, offering an immersive, multidimensional experience. A major turning point came in 2023 when I met Professor Sukrita Paul Kumar at Sahitya Kala Academy. She encouraged me. This is in India, Sahitya Kala Academy, and I was visiting India, and she encouraged me to write poetry inspired by art, sparking an entirely new creative direction. I am immensely grateful to her for instigating me into this journey and for previewing my work as an alpha reader. I also extend my heartfelt thanks to Professor Malashri Lal for her deep engagement, keen insight, and for making me aware of my strong relationship with what terms the unitary woman. She says the generic woman belongs to all times and all culture. In her foreword of the book, Charismatic Chiaroscuro. This unitary woman echoes deeply with me and serves as central theme, threading through many of the poems, artworks, and video art films. This journey would not have been the same without the unwavering support of dear friends like Yogesh Patel, a friend for over 3 decades now, has been an incredible source of encouragement. Lesley Fletcher from League of Canadian Poets, Connie Munson, who's a co-artist and an organizer of art, Halima Sadia, Tahir Gora of Tag TV, they always stood by me. Their belief in my work has been invaluable. I also thank all the fellow writers of Pilkin Tree and our very own Courtney Park Writers Group. My thanks to Dr. Sunil and Sangeeta Sharma and Setu Magazine for their continued support. My gratitude to Tufail Bhai. I don't know whether he has joined. He was to join. And Simi, his wife, who dedicatedly hold poetry readings under the banner of PLG every weekend from Muscat, Oman. They are celebrating their 9th anniversary today, so probably they may come a little late. And last but certainly not the least, my heartfelt gratitude to our iconic art promoter, Mike Douglas, with innovative way of supporting art.
Yes, yay, Mike.
New ideas, he is always there with new ideas. He is executive director of Mississauga Arts Council, and to his incredible enthusiastic team, Susan, Sherry, and others whose support has meant so much. And of course, like Sherry is giving us that support from behind today. And of course, to my other half, Bhupinder, my daughter Tia, I don't know whether she is hiding somewhere, her boyfriend Tarun, who patiently tolerate my creative whirlwind with unwavering support. Now for my future projects, I am getting into AI-driven art as for my love for technology. Thank you all for being here. I invite you to explore Charismatic Chiaroscuro. You can scan the QR codes when you have the book and art video films alongside the poetry. Immerse yourself in this journey where poetry and art converge. Book will be available with me on demand. They will be available online via Amazon and many other sites. Also, I have digital frames with moving art, and they will also be available on demand. So let's get into the premiere of the film. Just give me a minute to set it up.
Hi, Nan. Hi, Connie.
I hope you all can see the screen.
Yes, we can.
Yep. Yes.
Thank you, guys. I hope you all enjoyed it.
That
So
was
this is
amazing.
It was wonderful, Meena. Congratulations.
thank you,
Great.
and this is
Wow.
kind of a promo to the book and what all book contains, and we have official launch of the book on 17th April at Heritage Mississauga. They have a hall downstairs in the basement where we will be releasing the book.
And all are invited.
Yeah, everybody is invited. So probably
Congratulations,
go ahead
Meena.
with the speakers now, Bhupinder.
Yeah. Well, I hope you enjoyed this film.
Amazing.
Anyway,
Absolutely amazing.
I now invite Professor Malashri Lal. Professor Malashri Lal is a distinguished writer and academic, has authored 22 books and retired as the Dean of Colleges at the University of Delhi, India. She has held prestigious fellowships from Fulbright, the Rockefeller Foundation, and the British Council, conducting research at Harvard, Bellagio, and Newcastle. I believe she has also taught in York University, Toronto. Her works include Tagore and the Feminine and the acclaimed Goddess trilogy, In Search of Sita, Finding Radha, Treasures of Lakshmi. She has co-edited with Namita Gokhale. Their co-authored play Betrayed by Hope won the Kalinga Fiction Award. Her poetry collection Mandalas of Time has been widely praised and translated into Hindi as Mandal Dhwani, where Meena has also contributed translations for 5 poems. Currently, Mala serves as the convener of the English Advisory Board at the Sahitya Academy and chair of the English Advisory Board at Bharatiya Gyanpith. She is a recipient of the Maharani Gayatri Devi Award for Women's Excellence. Please welcome Professor Malashri Lal.
Thank you very much, Bhupinder, for that generous introduction. And hello, friends from across the world. It's indeed a great honor and a privilege to be the first speaker on the panel when so many well-known, wonderful, productive, creative persons are with me. I will keep my remarks short because I'm very keen to hear all of you. Well, we just saw this very dynamic film. Meena, congratulations. And I think you've taken the idea of poetry and art beyond just the visual page by turning it into the resources of digital technology. And that has given it a sort of a dynamism that I've never seen before. And I think it's a most innovative way of presenting your talents and for making the world aware that as we move towards digitization, the possibilities for innovation are fantastic and the opportunity should be taken up. So I'd first like to mention that it's an enormous honor that Meena Chopra asked me to write the foreword to this volume. And because of that, I do have copies of the book. and and I decided to call the foreword poetic pirouettes because I just felt that there was so much movement, so much change, so much um, fluidity in what she was presenting that it kept the reader very alert and very focused on whatever image was in front of us. So I'm going to make three very brief points, and if there are any questions afterwards, I'm happy to take them. The first of these is my deep interest in how the diaspora writers look upon certain traditional Indian material, such as mythology. So when I turned to Meena's poem, there's one called A Mythological Chronology, and in which she talks about the origin myths that we have in Indian scriptures, and that is the three figures of Brahma, Vishnu, and Mahesh. Now, Brahma is the creator, and Vishnu and Mahesh are companions to this figure, of course. But what interests me as a feminist thinker is that two of them has women consorts who are their equals. I've just finished a book on Lakshmi, who's a consort of Vishnu, and Mahesh or Shiva, of course, is Parvati, the other half of the figure of unity, what we call the Ardhanarishwar. So when I looked at this poem, I said, how does Meena Chopra, living in Toronto, Mississauga, view this? And I was absolutely transported to another world which looks upon the interrelatedness of the cultures of where she is and where she comes from, and what she uses as transiting points from one to the other. So this eternal cycle of being everywhere at the same time and yet being nowhere because you're constantly in transcendence and in movement. So, although the idea comes from the triptych of the three figures I mentioned, I'm just going to read two lines from her poem where she transmits this into the diaspora consciousness. Realities and yearnings, entwined legends buried in stones, engraving narratives. So that's the whole point, the entwining of the diasporic consciousness and the Indian heritage. The second point I want to make is something Meena mentioned in her introduction, the idea of the unitary woman. And Meena has an earlier volume that is called She. And from the film that we saw and the book that I hold, it's very evident that this woman is never static. And I love the fluidity of that figure, that she's always in a rotating motion. And also, she's never front faced. The mystical awareness of the woman being unpredictable, of being forever present, for never having a time or space limitation upon her, is something that I found utterly and absolutely attractive. And as Meena also mentioned, and I've put in my introduction, that she is now, she is then, she is forever. And I'm again reading a few lines from Meena's poetry in her words. It says, kiss me with a mouthful of eternity, raid me, tread the wizard apart, mold me with playful reality, siege me with coarse fertility. So I'm enchanted with these ideas of movement, identification of femininity as an energy, as a force, and yet not pinning it down. And technology, Meena, has made it possible for you to actually demonstrate that, and it's wonderful. I'll end by making a very brief reference to Meena's last poem, where she pays a tribute to the Pilkhantri group. And because some of our friends here may not know what she's referring to, it's an informal group that meets in Delhi once in a couple of months. And Meena has been with us on some such occasions. There are many other participants here from Delhi who have attended these meetings. Point is that, well, we have an enormously old bearded fig tree in the garden. And it seems to remind me of the old Rabindranath Tagore story that the highest creativity comes when you're surrounded by nature. And when a group of poets decided to meet here and read their poetry, my husband and I were only too happy to provide the hospitality. Now, the Pilkhantri poets have become like an entity in themselves. But what I think is important is a reminder that the heritage of poetry in India is a collective act. It's not an individual act. And it goes back to the oral repertoires of ancient Indian folklore or folk poetry and also the classical poetry, that it was always in a group and it was always evolving. There was nothing called imitation or plagiarism or anything of that kind. Everybody was encouraged to write the same thing or speak the same thing in a different way, adapting to the individual ways and attitudes of the storyteller or the poet. And the Pilkhantri is just an idea which picks up that collective nature, that democratic spread of what poetry means. Not sitting in a room by yourself and penning poems, that's also possible, but periodically to share it with one another. I end there by saying congratulations, and let poetry and art and the dynamism of Meena's work flourish.
Thank you, Malashri, so much. It was really great. Now I would like to invite Professor Sukrita Paul Kumar. Sukrita Paul Kumar was born in Kenya. She is a distinguished poet, critic, translator, and artist. She has held the prestigious Aruna Asaf Ali Chair at the University of Delhi and has been a fellow at institutions such as the Indian Institute of Advanced Study, Cambridge Seminars, and Hong Kong Baptist University. A former literature professor at Delhi University, Sukrita has authored acclaimed poetry collections, including Rowing Together, Oscillations, Apurna, Folds of Silence Without Margins, and her latest, Poems Come Home, which has been published by HarperCollins. It's a bilingual edition with Hindustani translations by the legendary Gulzar. Her work has been featured in Their Own Voice, Penguin's Anthology of Indian Women Poets, and various international journals. Currently, she is the guest editor at the Sahitya Academy of India, continuing to shape literary discourse. Please welcome Professor Sukrita Paul Kumar.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your generous introduction. I don't know where to start with because I think this is something absolutely amazing. The technology of the imagination that we normally used in listening to a poem gets actually transferred into technology of the computer. Because I do believe that the human mind and imagination is also constructed by some kind of technology by the Creator, Almighty, or whoever, by nature. And here the two come together. Because as I was watching, I just decided to jot down a few words that came to my mind as I was watching the premiere session. And the words that come to me are melting, gliding, floating, flowing, fluidity, misty, bubbles busting, liquid droplets. And I can go on because that's how I thought I would share this, because I think many of us were feeling that to be a certain kind of an immersive experience. Poetry is all about immersion. And I think the trigger that came to my mind particularly is that here is where colors come into movement, into music. We shouldn't forget that there was a low music going on side by side as the image opened itself to us in a myriad of meanings. I always say that I don't want to reduce an experience to the essentialism of meaning. And here too, I do not want to do that. I don't want to look at the meaning because the meaning is something outside. It has an element of reason in it. It means this because it is this, etc., etc. Don't want to get into it. I just know that there was a totality of experience and that it has become as an experience. I think it's kudos to you and your art and your vision, Meena, because it's you use this technology because you are the one who is actually thought of a technology as a tool. You know, it is just a tool because through that tool, your vision is coming alive and not just your vision. You are transporting that vision partly when it comes to the reader or the viewer now. What do we say? Is it the reader? Is it the viewer? Is it the reader and the viewer? And the imagination of the person who's receiving that experience. And so in that sense, what Mala just said, it becomes a collectivity. Now, that doesn't mean I want to take credit for all that you have done as a viewer. Obviously, you are instrumental to that. You have to understand fully the material that you use, the tools that you use. Like the carpenter has to understand what wood he or she is using and what are the tools that can be used to construct a table, say, for instance, you know. Not everybody can do that. You have to know the tools that you are going to use. You have the tools and you have the words. And I think words lose their, and I call it vanishing words. They vanish. Words vanish. They vanish into the technology that you are using. And the technology vanishes in the words that you use. In that, it becomes a totality. Emotions, where is the intellect then? Emotions have gone through your intellect. And the intellect has gone through your emotions. So it's what we read in English literature, don't we? Association of sensibility. Here you are. That's the example of association of sensibility. It's a totality. And that totality, if one can partake of that, you become part of that particular totality. Isn't that beautiful? That is the universe, isn't it? It's a whole list of one image merging into another, one idea merging into another, one art form merging into another art form. So we are going back to the times, I hope, where I believe in ancient times it was possible, which is when art meant music, drawing, reciting, all coming together, in your case, technology as well. Congratulations. Lovely experience, mesmerizing. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sukrita ji. That was
Very
really profound.
Thank you.
Yeah, I now invite Lesley Fletcher. She is the Executive Director of the League of Canadian Poets, Canada. Lesley has dedicated over 13 years to supporting literary non-profits and charities. Since 2016, she has served as the Executive Director of the League of Canadian Poets, leading a talented team to expand the League's impact, financial stability, and services. Passionate about fundraising, project management, and fostering collaboration, Lesley brings creativity and dedication to every initiative. Outside of work, she enjoys time with her children, walking her dog, reading, baking, taking classes, and occasionally embracing well-earned exhaustion. Please welcome Lesley Fletcher.
Hello, everyone. Meena, thank you for inviting me to this. I actually can't believe we're here because I feel like just recently you were talking to me about how you were going to make this into a book. and I'm amazed that people are already holding copies. So congratulations on moving so quickly. I am slightly intimidated to be speaking because, as you heard from my bio, I am not a scholar. I am merely a big fan of the arts who works to support poets, but I am very lucky that in my job, I get to work with over 1,400 poets from different parts of Canada, and I spend much of my day every day reading poetry as a result. So just a bit about the league. We're a membership organization. Poets join. We do stuff for them, and we do stuff for poetry lovers. That's sort of the summary. But the league has this old sort of tradition of poetry being something that like sort of old men do, locked in a room, written words on pages only. So, which is something that I've been trying to sort of shift. And it's very nice to see people embracing the art form in different ways, because another thing that we try to do is really expand the audience for poetry. And something I find is that people are very intimidated by poetry. Like they think it maybe not for them, or it's too difficult. And a lot of people would never think to pick up a book of poetry and read it. But everyone is open to listening to music. We're all very comfortable listening or watching videos. So this type of multimedia poetry is so exciting because it opens this new door to readers. Sorry, I'm breathless. I'm extremely pregnant and my baby is crushing my lungs. You'll have to be patient with me. So it's been very exciting for me to see Meena's work, and it's part of a big new tradition where people are doing a lot more multi-format poetry, and it's very exciting to see. And it's also amazing to see it so beautifully executed on video and then also transformed into book form. And it's very inspiring. So I really just, I can't say enough about it because I think art is for the people. I know a lot of you are scholars and published writers, but I am very of the mind that everybody should have access to poetry. And this is one of the most creative and beautiful ways to give people that access and to sort of tear down that idea that it might not be for them. So I'll keep it short because you all are very important and have much more insightful things to say, but just congratulations. And I really enjoyed the premiere, and I'm very excited to see the hard copy of the book, Meena.
Thank you so much, Lesley. That was wonderful. I now invite Yogesh Patel. Yogesh is a member of the Order of the British Empire. He is originally from India and now based in the UK. Yogesh has been a prominent voice in international poetry since the 70s. And as a former co-editor of Skylark magazine, he now leads Skylark Publications UK and the non-profit Word Masala project dedicated to promoting literature. A founder of the Gujarati Literary Academy, he is also a fellow of the International Poetry Society and the Royal Society of Arts. Honored with the Freedom of the City of London, Yogesh's diverse work spans poetry, fiction, non-fiction, films, radio, and children's books. His latest poetry collection, The Rapids, was published by the London Magazine on January 2nd, 2025. He was the featured guest on BBC Radio London. His poems have appeared in PN Review, the London Magazine, World Literature Today, Hindustan Times, and numerous other anthologies. He has also performed at the House of Lords and the National Poetry Library. Please welcome Yogesh Patel.
Thank you, Bender, for the lovely introduction. And also thank you, Meena, Mike Douglas, for making it possible for me to be with you all. Also, the esteemed guests as well, and obviously Malashri and Sukrita are my good friends. Also, it's good to be with Lesley Fletcher, whom I haven't met, but I suppose, if I ever visit Canada, perhaps I'll come and see you. Now, originally propagated on the 2D canvas, as the strength of chiaroscuro rests in achieving 3D depth through light and colors and creating a bright focal point in painting, it is no surprise that always inventive Meena Chopra wants to cross over to the digital art to make her work live. The added fourth dimension here is poetry, though the difference in poetry is not precipitating from the paintings, but as she says, words started finding their way into the colors and forms and became poems. In Bhagavad Gita, Dehin is separated from Prakriti. It is as if Chopra plays here with her essence of selfhood as Dehin and poetry as Prakriti. Her artistic expression is also enriched by the Prakriti of digital art. They become vehicles to this inner sanctuary of art. The whole experience for us is not the expressive aspect of the painting, but the transliteration of the outsider, that is Prakriti. The fourth dimension I mentioned is what the poet Nick Makoha coins as the double ekphrasis. In these lines, Chopra puts it aptly: I am a nomad, traveling through ages. Gravity anchors me firmly to the ground. Desires view my existing karmas. What intrigues me here is that in these lines, the use of periods with the lines following without capitalization of the first word. So I wonder what was the thinking behind that. Her poems are in sub-secondary distance from the original painting. It has all the traits of Chayavad. The term Chaya appears in Upanishad, where it refers to the universe as a phenomenal reflection of transcendental reality. Chayavad reflected such mystical romanticism. Her constructs of the mythical she, conjured up in colors and lights, has been a long journey for her. And as Meena mentioned, we've been friends for nearly three decades, and I have watched various paintings over the period. But with this extension of dimensions, we are in real originality, and art is at her prime. The era of Chayavad is gone, but Meera reinvents it, makes it fresh, and the contextual play the media. I'm currently reading and reviewing Nick Makoha's new collection, The New Carthaginians, just published by Penguin, which offers a bridging to my thinking on Chopra's book. His collection is deeply ingrained in Jean-Michel Basquiat's technique, using that Makoha offers a concept of poetically exploded collage. Though Chopra's art is a complete opposite of Basquiat, the precis chimes with me in these lines from his poem, Prologue. A painting is a living space of vivid dimension and close that lets us enter it and pierces through the volume of our thoughts. It knows there are other words superimposed on our own, and as if us were reading off a diagram. In his other poem entitled 76, Makoha wonders, when you change your course, you rotate the direction of time. This is how time behaves. When it rotates, it becomes relative, and relative in the sense of different contexts. I compare it with Chopra's line as well here from this collection. Barefoot I traverse on the ruins of time, past crumbles underneath. With this in mind, I wonder if Chopra's imaginative approach here also rotates time in her poems and works, and she walks the footsteps of Rani Rupmati in one of her poems. It makes sense to me when Makoha also says, this in his poem entitled Flight, then I too am a new thing born of another language. I am both familiar and unfamiliar. I think Chopra achieves such paradoxes with her chiaroscuro because at the center of the most paintings, there is an attempt to decodify woman's selfhood. She has always attempted this in her previous body of work, but here she takes it further with other media. One example of that comes to mind is the overlaid images in her painting entitled Spectrum. In Chopra's word, She is a palette of enduring expressions across the fiery time and space. But with this body of work, you see a universe of silicon souls with algorithms, symbols of skyscrapers, leaves, snakes, helix, and variety of statements, including alpha helix as well, talking the age, and spirals with binary codes, which are quite intriguing as well, of zeros and ones. As in Basquiat, she has managed layers of meanings with own images or backdrop. Those of you who are not familiar with Basquiat's work, Basquiat also uses a background and on those images he superimposes his own choice of new icons and images, but he has got specific range of it. And same way, I think Meena has got it as well here. So as in Basquiat, she has managed layers of meanings with own images of dewdrops, snowflakes, quill, eyes, cornea, wheels, birds, and lots of feathers and butterflies overlaid. If the paintings are buzzing with all these things, then Chopra's poems are measured in meditation and reflections. So without much ado, let's welcome the universe of Chopra's charismatic chiaroscuro as a walk through the gallery where language also has a place, as in Basquiat. Congratulations, Meena. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Yogesh ji. That was excellent. Very well said.
Thank you.
I now invite Connie Munson. She is a writer, art photographer, curator, and an organizer of art events. Connie's memoir in progress, Dandelions and Bare Feet, reflects the deep connections that shaped her childhood and continue to anchor her creative explorations. A dreamer and organizer, she found early creative expression through reading, photography, and writing, always drawn to the outdoors with a book or camera in hand, a passion that remains unchanged. Her work is fueled by the synergy of shared inspiration and collaboration, fostering creative potential and building community. This is exemplified in her annual group exhibitions, registered with the Contact Festival, the world's largest photography event. A true creative animateur, Connie's journey spans roles as a social worker, teacher, marketer, photographer, writer, and visionary, each contributing to her dynamic, artistic, and community-driven initiatives. Please welcome Connie.
Thank you so very much. And I do echo what Lesley had shared, as I feel so honored to have been asked to participate in this. My background is not academic, as you can tell. And so what I'm going to share is how I've been experiencing my involvement with different things Meena has put forward. And this one I am finding truly impressive. It's the immersive qualities of poetry. And then to find this with the images, the video, it's lovely. So what I'm going to start with is to say that the dips that I've been making into Charismatic Chiaroscuro, Meena's unique multimedia collection of artwork, poetry, and videos, continue to be incredible excursions into a world where her honed intent with the intersection of the words and visuals is dramatic with high contrasts. And in fact, these are some of the key terms used to describe Chiaroscuro: dramatic, high contrast, revealing of form through use of light, even commenting on how it can be felt as a visceral response with the emotional impact or effect. This resonated with me as a photographer because I often describe what I do as chasing the light, and I refer to light as nature's paintbrush. Like plein air painters, the magic happens with the play of light as it falls, throws cast shadows, washes over objects, beams down on people's faces or bodies. It is a nexus where the intensity of truth and emotionality can be discovered as directed by intent, the artist's vision. Chopra's truths are sprinkled throughout this rich compilation, amongst the various poems and the merging of her paintings with the music and the videos she has created. Different lines or phrases act within the whole to shine a light here, move the eye and the mind along there, even as they're nuggets that I go back to read aloud, to savor, and to muse upon. So a few of the nuggets I'm going to share are Night, a Weary Shade of Black, from Me and My Himalayan Self, and another from Rainwaters Were Never Shallow. And this one I went back to quite a lot. My eyes shut, squeezing the joy as raindrops tiptoe on my skin. And that evoked so much for me of what it was like as a child to be outside, to be playing. And the whole experience of this, as other people have already shared, where you have the immersive and the merging and the melding. And I love the magic of this. This is a synergy of one person's creativity. Liquid moments, bursting bubbles, deep dark woods, origami of time and space. They have all brought me to a stop, going back to reread, think about, and replay them as I let myself feel and experience them with the art videos. As with the light by artists using Chiaroscuro techniques to increase dramatic effect, while the contrast of shadows and light reveal the forms and the depths of their subjects, Chopra's poetry creates an ambience molded by her use of language. Her nuanced placement of words become the cast shadows, heightening the intensity, while directive words drill through to the bedrock of her truth. How wonderful to so fully engage with Meena's creative vision. Worlds within glorious worlds as she melds her various expressive channels and talents. Thank you, Meena.
Thank you very much, Connie. That was great too.
That's wonderful.
I now invite the iconic Mike Douglas, Executive Director of Mississauga Arts Council. He is an art promoter with years and years of experience in marketing and media. He has been instrumental in spotlighting the Mississauga Arts Council, MAC as we call it, as a leading arts service agency, creating opportunities for creative expression, employment, and recognition. Under his guidance, MAC has supported artists' professional growth through educational webinars, online coaching, and live seminars that enhance entrepreneurial skills and digital communication expertise. Previously, Mike co-founded and edited the magazine Mississauga Life, Spirit of the City. With a distinguished 30-year career as a television director and writer, he has contributed to major networks, CBC, CBS, TVO, Access, Global, CTV, and Discovery, etc., and led creative projects for top Canadian companies. His dedication to community service earned him the Queen's Diamond Jubilee Award in 2012. Meena's book, Charismatic Chiaroscuro, has generously been supported by Mississauga Arts Council's micro grant program through the support of Rama Gaming House, charitable gaming at City of Mississauga, tech support. And tech support for this Zoom program is also being supported by MAC. Please welcome Mike.
Well, as Lesley said and Connie has said, it's an honor to be here. And I think it gives us another insight into the extraordinary value of the Indian diaspora in the creative vitality of our city. And for those of you living in India, Mississauga is, in Canadian terms, a large suburb, immediately west of Toronto, about 800,000 people. And when you land at an airport going to Toronto, you're landing in Mississauga. And Mississauga is only 50 years old as a city. And in our arts community, we have extraordinary leadership in terms of exploration, like Meena and many others, and in terms of entrepreneurship, like we've seen, and there's many I could name. that are also helping to drive the creative movement that animates this city. So we're very grateful for the Indian stars that reside here, and for us to learn the kind of insightful, deep appreciation of the senses that has been talked to here. And frankly, in Mala's foreword, I just want to give you a little bit of this, if you don't mind. Everybody else has been reading, so I don't normally, but I'd like to this time. And it's just the second sentence in the foreword by Malashri. At a certain level, this has the thrill of interstellar travel where no one has ventured before. At another level, it is the mind travel of a Himalayan ascetic whose breathing speaks to the cosmos. So there, my opportunity to get into the cosmos was taken. The points made about technology of imagination are gone. So I'm left with this, and I'd like to point out the nature of aesthetics in action that Meena represents, because her curiosity drives her ambition to share what she can do with others. And that is absolutely worth supporting. And we are very much involved and care to be involved going forward, because this is how art moves forward. This is how an identity of a city gets established and attractive to others, so that it grows and becomes a bigger asset for all of us. All the residents in Mississauga are benefiting from people like Meena and others here on. I see their faces on this call. So it's an honor, absolutely. The breathtaking childishness of her observations are so enjoyable when you read about how rocks hit the side of another rock and create an indelible memory of a mythology. I'm paraphrasing badly, but that poem is just one of 44 poems in this piece. It's wonderful. And so I've very gratefully waded into this chiaroscuro, charismatic chiaroscuro, and the shifting silhouettes. I haven't got there yet, but I look forward to it. So congratulations. This has been absolutely inspiring. And the opportunity to bring different art forms together and then muscle them up to something that is absolutely easily appreciated, as Lesley said. We all consume this kind of art, and now you've given it such beautiful vitality and thoughtful exploration that it is hugely appealing, and congratulations for that. So thank you for this opportunity, Bhupinder, and to Meena, hats off if I had one. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mike.
Mike, and thank you. My heartfelt thanks to all the speakers. I'm truly humbled. Bhupinder,
now we are at the end of this segment. Now we can start the question and answer session.
So
open session.
In fact, there was I think Jolie, you had a very pertinent question about the unitary woman. So your mic is, you can maybe ask that. And I think Malashri and Sukrita should be able to elaborate them, because this is something kind of new to West. We in East live and grow with this unitary woman. But yeah, from Western perspective, probably it could be explained.
Appreciate that. I thought I heard it wrong. I don't even know what it means. So I'd like to understand what that concept is.
Mm-hmm. Samala or Sukrita?
I can start, at least my viewpoint. And Meena is absolutely right that it's a concept that we actually grew up with, because we have the idea of the Devi, the goddess who needs nobody else. And the Devi is the essence of energy. And she is not required to be within time or outside time. She is everywhere. And it's never a single figure that is identified as Devi, but she has many roop or incarnations, one may say, 51 major incarnations. But the idea of the unitary woman is the woman not being necessarily linked to anything else, that she is wholesome and powerful in herself.
Should I pitch in?
Sure.
Yeah, so I would like to use here a concept which is favorite of mine, which has got to do with this whole concept of androgyny, which is to do with Ardhanarishwar, which is the idea being that this particular unitariness, has a lot to do with the fact that the masculine and the feminine coexist simultaneously in the context of being androgyny, which means that this exists in its autonomy. It is not dependent on anything else outside of it. Now, one might ask, what about the counterpart? What about a man? Is a man unitary? I think a man who has enough of the feminine, and this concept, by the way, is getting to be more and more Western also, because there is a tradition of a thought process which is come into the Western tradition by virtue of the fact that Virginia Woolf invokes it. More than Virginia Woolf, Caroline Heilbron of USA also talked about it in the 70s by writing a book called Towards Androgyny. Now, this is actually a very new form of, or a fresh form of feminism that is being, not feminism, but a feministic kind of writing that has actually come into being in the last 30 or 40 years and getting to be a little more complex now, because we are also pitching in with our concept of Ardhanarishwar. And then therein, there is a whole novel by this name, Ardhanarishwar, in Hindi, which is in a discursive way talking about what is this half man, half woman situation? How does one complement the other? Is it the masculine and the feminine, and the energy of the feminine getting triggered off by the masculine, and the energy of the masculine getting triggered off by what is invoked in the feminine? So it's a little complex, but I think this is what one also sees in some of these images, Meena, which you have used, which is like, you call it vortex of hues, but they are not mere hues. They are actually whiffs, as it were, of energy coming out, which are images, which can be translated in art as images. But if you really look at them very carefully, and if you have a whole setting in your mind about what is androgyny, you begin to see that a woman is not just to be reduced into being a feminine self only. It has the masculinity of, or the power of, a thrust that can go beyond the body. I don't know if I'm able to put it in the way that it, I understand it, but it's complex, and the nuances are very, very complicated. Combined with this, if we bring in the mythological stories, which I am not able to at the moment, because I'm not equipped with my mythology, but I am, in a sense, myself an androgyny, I think. Thank you.
Well, I hope that answers you, Jolene.
Yeah, no, could I just ask, what was the name of that deity that the first speaker referred to? Can I have the spelling of that?
Yeah, it's D-E-V-I, Devi.
D-E-V.
Devi is a generic name for goddess.
D-E-V-I.
But it's a generic name. D-E-V-I.
Okay, generic name for goddess.
For goddess.
Okay.
So, Yogesh, would you like to add something to unitary woman?
I don't think I've explored that concept, to any extent in my poetic work. So it would be wrong for me to kind of come up with anything. But what I find actually in your work is the feminism I actually appreciate, because your work actually celebrates women, you know, in various forms of colors you pick up, and as if you mold them on the canvas, but also now in the form of digital art as well, and also the day-to-day representation of a woman, which can be within the definite lines of her shape, is also taken out of it, and that then you're taking the whole concept of the woman's actually womanhood itself, her the enigma of the cosmosis of emotions,
Yes.
which you are taking and reshaping it in the form of expression which comes across, and that really is something I haven't seen in most of the feminist writing, and also in poetry. So from that point of view, I have always been admirer of your work, because every time I pick up, you know, your previous book, you know, She, and look at the colors, you're not looking at the shapes, but you're looking at the way the colors interact and reveal what you're trying to say, is always, as Sukrita previously mentioned, you know, the meaning is not definite. It is constantly an emerging entity. It's an explosion of energy, like in the universe. You know, there is just no shortage of energy. And this particular kind of work, what I find is that it brings out a lot of that sort of energy, and I enjoyed your painting from that point of view. So yeah, my own perspective is that I always say to you before as well, that this is the kind of feminism which is a celebration of the woman, is something, you know, I really appreciate, you know, in your work. And as far as the debates about the Devihood and Deviism or anything else associated with the generic term are you know, they can go into the arena of politics and cultural wars and everything else. But that part of the feminism has got its place, but it's something when it comes to like this sort of art, it just makes it completely different and opposite to it, and that's what I enjoy.
Thank
I
you
hope
so
I
much.
explained
What came to my mind was also this whole concept of Purusha and Prakriti that we have, which is, I think, very much there in the way that you are making the Prakriti as a kind of a ball of energy of a sort, which does not function without the Purusha also. So the surrounding is all Purusha, as it were. And Prakriti, I think what we need to do is to interpret this mythology in contemporary terms, you know, and we haven't yet done that. As much as there is a need, we haven't really filled up those gaps. But I think we need to work on it. You know, some of us who have been dabbling in, call it mythology or feminism, or, you know, these concepts of Devi, for instance, I think we need to go deeper and realize that there is a multiplicity, one, of meanings, and two, of its application, traditional application vis-a-vis the contemporary one. I think all of this needs a different kind of vocabulary now for the East to speak to the West and the West to understand it.
Pratap, you need to say something?
Yeah, I wanted to ask a question to Meena, but before that, just for Jolene, the word Devi, which means a female goddess, it has many in English language also, in European languages like Dios meaning God, Dies in French meaning goddess. And words like theology, they come from the same old Indo-European root, Devi, Dios, Dies, theology, all those theo and like theocratic, all those have the same origin. Just to tell you that, it's not a very different word, they're related to many English and European words.
Thank you.
And my question to Meena is this. Meena, how do you choose how do you choose a topic for your poem? Like what inspires you? And when you choose topic for your painting or poem, in your mind already are you linking them, or they come out separately, like a painting comes from, wellspring of your creativity. Then you match a poem to that, or when you think of a subject, both occur to you. I just wanted to know as a fellow creative artist.
Okay. So you are primarily a fiction writer, but I must tell that a beautiful book of Pratap, of his first poetry book, has just come out, and it's doing very well. Pratap, as for me, as an artist, whether it's a poem or a painting, it's for a poem, it's a blank paper in front of me, and for art, it's a canvas, blank canvas, and whatever comes in my mind at that time, I just let it flow. And then later on, I carve it, I structure it properly. So I'm a person who just goes with the flow, not consciously having a concept or an idea. So what I have been doing is, earlier I've been writing and I've been painting, but never tried to actually relate together. But because probably that subconscious state of mind was the same for whether for art or poetry, there was always a similarity. They were complementing each other. So, but it was, as I said earlier, when I met Sukrita in Delhi in 2023, she told me that you just try doing something, take something from the art and start writing poem on that. So I started experimenting on that, and it was a kind of a new journey for me. So I think to answer you, I hope it satisfies.
Yes. Good. Yeah. Thank you.
Mhm.
Anybody else? Yeah, Bhushan, you can go ahead.
Yeah, first of all, I want to say this very honestly that this has been the best morning of 2025 for me. I'm very happy to be here among all of you and to be listening to such a wonderful session, which is almost a kind of a spiritual training, for an individual. So hearty congratulations to you, Meena. Wonderful body of work. Probably this is a great example of where reason stops and mesmerism starts, the enchanting, beautiful world where the colors blend so beautifully to create an impression in you which lasts longer than reason can comprehend. So with these few words, I just want to once again congratulate you and the panel. I'm so very impressed by the panel of speakers here, and Mike Douglas is here. So grateful to you for supporting all of us. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bhushan. Anybody else wants to say
I
something?
have a question, Meena.
Yeah, Mary, go ahead.
Yes, Meena, I wanted to ask you, are you planning to continue producing your lovely digital art in other books that you plan to publish? Are you going to continue along?
Something is in making. That is, I have few artifacts, my family heirlooms, which I am digitizing and trying to create art from that. I have created some art, but I'll start writing on those now. Let's see prose and poems, what comes out. So that is something I have in my mind.
Okay, from artifacts that are meaningful to you. Okay, interesting. Yeah. Well, we'll look forward to that.
Having a historical reference also.
Okay, thank you. Yeah.
Anybody? Yeah, Mike.
Hi, Shelley.
I just wanted to mention that as a man working with talented women every day, one of the maybe underrepresented strengths is uncertainty, because men will tell you what it is and what it looks like and define it for you. Whereas we're listening to artists interested and inspired to explore what it could be. And I think this is an undervalued strength of women that is a huge factor in everything good that is happening in our society. So thank you.
Thank you. Very well put.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you, Mike, for organizing all this as well, so making it possible and helping Meena there as well in Canada.
Anybody else? Yeah.
I'd just like to say, somebody else has just said this, and I'm also finding it quite an incredible morning. There have been different things that my mind has kind of latched onto. Sukrita, I think you mentioned, along with androgyny, a ball of energy. My mind is just ricocheting around and picking up on things and turning them over. And then I find it going back decades ago when I was first being introduced by some other friends to some writing by women who were our feminists. And it's another book of she, Meena, and he, written by, I believe, not sure in the first name, Ellen Dinerstein, who was a student of and now I've blanked. Oh, not Freud. Oh, my goodness. Jung, who was a student of Jung. Very skinny volumes, exploring the masculine, I guess, exploring the feminine. And it was like, whoa, it's like the shades were thrown back, the light floods in. And that was the beginning of quite a journey for me. And now this is coming around a whole other way. And I'm really feeling so excited by hearing different people's experiences of what Meena's put in front of us, because the energy, the androgyny, I feel like our world needs an awful lot of stuff. And I have to tell you, rampant certain kinds of energy are just so highly difficult to appreciate. Like really difficult. And I was remembering what Dinerstein had said, is that perhaps, and I think now, and say people who are men would have a different understanding of how to be in the world if they had to be in that position of nurturing and protecting life, and that their whole relationship to the environment, the natural world around us, would be so different. And I'm thinking, yes, we could use a lot of that. And the way we're being presented with a whole other way to experience being with what Meena has put in front of us, I find it so exciting and hopeful. And I really think we need some hope. I really do.
I think a lot has to do with the idea of how our so-called civilizational forces, East and West, have created binaries, you know, and also dichotomies. And I think the circle has to come around to completion somewhere. And then, of course, it's a spiral. It can go elsewhere. But so far, I think the kind of binaries and the dichotomies and the borders that we have created for ourselves, that is what is creating a huge problem, because we don't know how to make it come together. And this is the kind of art, what Meena has produced, this is the kind of art that makes you understand that it's all fluid. Hey, listen, there are no borders. And it can go out of you and it can come back and then yet go in another direction. And it goes on and it's very musical. So if art, physical art can become music, it is like this, you see. It's music. It's music. It's opening up a certain kind of a symphony, you know. It's a symphony of living. And what you used, I think, is something very important. The word being, the idea of being, which has no dichotomy at all, no binary at all. So how do we come to that sense of, call it, even if it is a transient sense, but that of completion, you know, and yet be uncertain because you don't know where it's going. And that is the excitement in the whole, creative excitement in the idea of being.
And Mike gets to live with that uncertainty.
And she's also able to blend what we might think is very traditional and ancient with the most modern and ultra modern. You know, that point, you know, is really important from my point of view. Because when we think of ancient, we think it's not relevant to the modern, or it's not applicable to the modern. But how she blends the two is shows us that truth and reality and, you know, ultimate reality beyond reason is seamless. You know, it's the same probably 10,000 years ago. It's the same today. But how do you structure it and how do you present it before today's audiences is, I think, one of the you know, greatest achievements of Meena in this genre.
Oh, it's such an experience to have that, and it is transient. You're right, Sukrita. It's not there all the time, and hopefully, I'm remembering back to some teaching times when certain students, they came back to visit people and they would say, oh, and you've got to read this book. And they are so hungry. And I know some of the students taking the religions and philosophy course. Oh my gosh, miss, my head doesn't think that way. It's so exciting. And I'm just passing, but I really like it. And I think there is such a hunger for people who are of different times to be able to open and to expand and feel all of this. And the fact, Meena, that you're able to be doing this in a form that's accessible for this. Oh my goodness. I get kind of goosebumps with it. I really am excited by it.
May I
I want to go back.
I think what's Meena, one more statement and that's it. I think the intuitive and the rational, when they come together, you know, that is the sense of being that one can get out of art like this, of all good art. When you can bring the intuitive along with the rational or merge into the rational. And I think in your case, if we were to probe you deeper, like even as a poet or an artist that I also paint, and if I am posed this question, it'll be very difficult for me to think of where I was intuitive and where I was rational. I needed to be rational to be able to work out my creative process. What is the process through which I will make my intuition work? And so the logical comes into being on its own, right? along with the following of the intuition. So it's really the marvel of the creative process which always remains mysterious.
Oh, I think that's so, sorry, I think that's so important. And I think somebody else had asked earlier what your process is, how do you start? And I think it's so important to honor that process and to realize that it is there potentially in everyone. We damp it down and maybe don't have access, don't have it supported. But that's actually what I pin my hope on, trying to find how that's kept alive. And that actually, we have so much to thank Mississauga Arts Council for with that, because that's a realization that that's a huge contribution to, well, to civilization as we know it in Mississauga, as we know it in, Peel and on and on. And it's an incredibly important force. And I think it's a time right now we really need that force alive. So anyway.
May I ask a question as an artist? Sorry, I know everybody here has been talking as a writer, but as an artist, Meena, it's been beautiful. So excuse my voice as I'm a bit throaty as well. I really know, I'm in awe, and I'm so honored to be here and among you. I have an art group, as some of you know, and my art group is multinational. So Meena, thank you so much for inviting me, because I have people from India and Pakistan and Iran and all over the world in my art group, and I'm just learning it constantly. So I just love hearing so much of what you're speaking about, and I'm soaking it up. So thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and being writers. And so I'm sitting here going, okay, I have to absorb all this, but I'm also in school. So I have to leave soon because I've got to do some writing of my own. So what I noticed about your presentation was that early on, the figures that you were showing were very similar. The female body, the spiritual significance, the birds, the butterflies, beautiful symbolism. And then all of a sudden, we had a dramatic change in your art. So there was, what's the word I'm looking for? Sorry, I'm getting tired. Abstract. It was very abstract, very colorful. Like, I'm an abstract artist, so I kind of went, wow, here's Meena. I'm loving this. It's just gorgeous. So what made you change? And then you went from there to the water. And so what inspired you to go to the abstract after doing all the she and the beautiful symbolism of all that?
It's difficult to answer, but in my art, abstract and figurative many times come together. But if you see even the figurative, it is not absolutely figurative.
No, of course. Yeah.
A bit of abstraction is also there, but probably from there, it at times it starts becoming more abstract in some cases.
Yeah.
So, basically, even I'm delve a lot into abstract, but my abstract starts from something concrete. And as I said earlier, it's just I am not thinking consciously when I'm on a canvas or on a paper. It just comes, and then I sit down and then structure it.
Same with me. Yeah. Intuitively. Yeah. Thank you, Meena. It's just beautiful.
Thank you.
Congratulations. I will look forward to the book. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions, Zora?
Yeah, I was
Okay.
just, I am absolutely amazed. I am hardly ever speechless, but I feel speechless. The thing is, with the passion, I call myself having a zesty retina. So with a zesty retina, passion for music and poetry, and all that put together with this in such a dramatic and modern, combining it with a modern art or digital media, I think I just feel like I made a trip to someplace very heavenly. And I will reflect on it for a long time, and I can hardly lay my hands on your book. Thank you so much. And actually, I must say the speakers, every single one of you, intellectuals, and it gave me a little bit more insight into Devi I knew and a few others the references, but some more references I noted down and I'm going to look up at them. So beautiful speakers, and I congratulate Bhupinder, you and Meena and Mike Douglas for supporting this Art Council and all the background stuff that is helping videotape it. Thank you so much for this morning treat. Absolutely.
Thank you, Zora. Sunilji, you want to say something?
Yes, actually, I couldn't help it. First of all, hearty congratulations to Meena ji. It was an immersive experience.
Really?
Multimedia. I really enjoyed it. In an age when there is a surfeit of virtual programs, events, I really come back completely enriched. And I would like to add a comment on this stunning cover page. One second. Please go. It's echoing here. This is marvelous. Just from the opposite of the spectrum, as a reader searching for some quality content in a crowded bookshop. If I walk into a crowded bookshop, and bookshops are becoming so rare these days, my first, as a serious reader, I would have a look around, and from the perspective of the reader, this stunning visual will capture my immediate attention.
Thank you.
The entire circuit of communication is not geared for academic discussions.
Yes.
It's important, this kind of conversation, rich, edifying. But the end user is, of course, the reader who is equally alert, who is there to spend money on your book. And I think the biggest challenge for all of us as a community of creators, such an impersonal term these days, content creator. Books are becoming texts. Authors 50 years back, they were supposed to be dead. And nobody is questioning these terms that are widely circulating in the academic zones. Back to this stunning cover, this cover design. Just have a look. Charismatic Chiaroscuro, Poetry and Art. Where poetry becomes art, art becomes poetry. And only Meena Chopra and her tribe, again in extreme minority, can do that. Congratulations from us, Sangeeta and I, and entire Setu global family of 5 million plus viewers. This is a very big achievement. As I said, very few programs leave you enriched, and I feel totally aesthetically, emotionally fulfilled by this encounter. I will come back very shortly because time is running out. So just have a look here. You see a statue-like figure. Gender is not suggested. And we can link up with major themes of today's conversation, 2-hour conversation revolving around this book, thanks to Mississauga and the hosts. So here you see the picture of the creator, the poet, philosopher, artist, Meena Chopra. The bindi here, trademark, and this is blending with this statue-like figure. And below that, I am just decoding this cover page. Your subconscious, your unconscious, the subconscious and unconscious of an artist and artistic process. Here you see, for me as a reader, here you see these circles radiating, expanding. Perhaps this may stand for the recipient's critical consciousness and the way it gets modified if in a mass market, in a commodified market, we come across such serious works of art and literature. Otherwise, in a commercialized culture, in this rat race for recognition, for awards, most of it is, I'm sorry to say, it just fails to enlighten you, to uplift you, to raise your consciousness. So starting with this cover page, the visuals, the way the initial premiere was done, I feel enriched, and as a reader searching, I'm concluding my brief remarks, as a reader searching for serious content in this book, I get arrested by this visual, this cover page, because there is, in one book, you have got an entire package which includes poetry and art, poetry as an art, art as a poetry. And the whole thing makes me this cover page it motivates me to buy it and read it leisurely and come back transformed. Thank you again. I hope I did not gate crash into such a stellar event, but I could not help it as part of the viewers. And this whole experience has been so enriching. Thank you for making me a small part of that, and wishing you big success, both critical and commercial. Thank you very much once again.
Really, thank you.
And anybody else wants to say
Malashri, you wanted to say something?
Towards the end of the session?
Maybe we can ask Meena to read one poem to end the session whenever we do that.
Oh, really?
Nain, you want to say something, Nain? Nain is unmute. You have to unmute yourself.
Susan, you want to say something?
Anybody else?
I think, Meena, read a poem, please.
Okay. I'll read. My throat is today just not helping me. So I'll read this one. This is called, it's in the beginning of my book. It is called Silver Moments on Canadian Rockies. I inhale the mist rising from the glaciers, where fog veils mountains. Beyond turquoise waters, exhaling sultry dreams, relinquished, brood in melting desires on the shores of this stunning lake. My vision calm, drifting over the fading droplets, engulfed in icy blue hues. I become a pebble, rippling along the velvety waters, crystal clear. Many rivulets flow through me, draped in silver gray, ascending into a stainless sky. Thank you. So guys, friends, the session was wonderful with your help. I really thank everybody and the speakers. I have learned a lot, truly learned a lot today to go further from here. Thank you very much, you all, for coming. Anything, Mike, do you want to say in the end?
I love your poetry. I love the exploration. We're delighted to be supporters, and we hope all of you go out and reach to friends of yours and encourage them to purchase this beautiful book.
So thank you very much.
Thank you.
And here we end the session.
You all are invited to the launch on the 17th of April at the Heritage Mississauga. Anybody who can come to Mississauga or India is more than welcome.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Meena.
Thank you, Malaji. Thank you, Sukrita ji. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mike, Paul.
Bye-bye. Thanks, guys.